everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Thursday. I hope your guys' week is as active as the astrology looks like it is. I'm back at it with another video. We're going to be touching on this up-and-coming Cazimi in the sign of Leo. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below, subscribe to the channel so you can catch my other videos throughout the week. We're here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. All right, obviously there is a lot going on, but I want to focus on a pretty interesting, I think pretty positive, pretty colorful transit that we're going to be experiencing here as we get closer to the 18th of August. We will be seeing the Cazimi, so Mercury in its retrograde motion will be in a conjunction with the Sun in the sign of Leo, giving all of us some insight and much needed inspiration when it comes to self-expression. Now, we see the Cazimi happen several times throughout the year. This is the marker of the halfway point through the Mercury retrograde, which we've been going through for the last week or so. This retrograde started actually in the sign of Virgo and it retrograded back into the sign of Leo. Now, a Cazimi is a very powerful aspect where the Sun and Mercury are in conjunction, but Mercury is going to be in its superior aspect. So it's right before it passes the Sun. Mercury, or I guess we could say the god of communication, will be relaying some sort of message. Now, the Cazimi takes place when it's positioned within 17 minutes. So it's going to be the closest kind of proximity. And then we will see Mercury kind of pass the Sun. And obviously the Sun's in Leo, so it's in its own kind of sign. It's in its home sign here. So it's got extra strength. And the alignment is often seen as a period of heightened creativity and self-expression, as well as intellectual powers. So if you're not too sure what the whole point of this Mercury retrograde has been about, maybe you're waiting to find some information or kind of tap into your intuition. Maybe you're waiting on a message or something of that nature. Maybe something's gone missing, right? This is that turning point where there's a sense of awareness of what needs to be worked out. Now, Leo is a fire sign, which is ruled by the Sun. So this is definitely bringing a well-welcomed sense of warmth, confidence, and desire for recognition to the table. I think that's really what this is about. And the combination can lead to a period where your thoughts and your ideas are illuminated. And likely there's going to be a strong urge to share them with the world. Creative projects, happy news, joy, creativity, telling somebody how you feel about them, the list goes on. This is a very powerful moment, and it will be taking place at 26 degrees. Now, you guys are watching on the 15th, but I do this a little early so that way you're prepared for this particular transit. So if we kind of scan ahead in the skies, it looks like this conjunction is going to be taking place pretty much the late morning into the afternoon on the 18th. Hello, let's move this around. Sorry, guys. I still have it set on whole sign. All right, so let's look at, there we go, 0 degrees. All right, so it's going to be coming into conjunction at 26 degrees. So if you have any personal planets around 25, 26, 27, or maybe, you know, you're a Leo sun, moon, or rising, or personal planet within these degrees, it's going to be a little bit more specific for you depending on which house it's in. This is where you get the insight in your life. And obviously the aspects are important as well to your natal chart. But in general terms, we're going to be seeing this on the 18th. So Mercury is going to get super close to the Sun before it passes at 26 degrees. Now, 26 has an association and a connection with Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, so it's always about money, resources, self-esteem, our possessions, the things that we love and kind of hold kind of near and dear to our hearts, especially when it's in the sign of Leo. So there is some kind of reworking that's going on of Leo-related things. You guys have heard me say this a dozen times. Leo is the stock market. Leo is casinos. It is creative projects. It's our romantic partners, our hobbies, our children. So seeing this kind of reworking with Mercury through its retrograde in a conjunction to the sun, I assume this is kind of when we have that aha moment and we realize, you know what, I value this most. This is the thing that I love more than anything else, and I want to like scream it from the rooftops. We are going to see lots of stuff kind of going a bit buck wild for a number of reasons because of other transits that I've talked about this week on the channel, but this is happening right around the time of a full moon. So we're going to have a full moon that's going to be taking place on the 19th of August, but just prior to that, the Cazimi comes in and we get some kind of information that may be directly connected or correlating with the financial world, the markets, gambling, risks, you know, things of that nature. So this is the halfway point. We get this information right before the full moon will end up coming in at 26 degrees of Aquarius. So that full moon is going to have the Cazimi kind of baked into it just before, and the moon will make an opposition to the sun and Mercury. And this is on an individual level, what you love, how you express yourself, how you stand out in a crowd versus some of the collective dramas that are playing out in the world with that full moon in Aquarius, which is it's committed to shaking everything up with some of the squares to Uranus. Now, the Sabian symbol that we're going to read is going to be the 27th degree of Leo, because we're going to round up. I'll read it to you guys. All right, so Sabian symbol 27, daybreak. You guys have heard me read this to you recently, but we'll read again. The keyword is Genesis, and the theme is new beginnings. The symbol speaks to the dawn of new hope and to the fact that no situation or condition lasts forever. The image of daybreak is a symbolic assurance that no matter how chaotic or painful life can get, there will always be a new day, a better tomorrow, and fresh opportunities. The emphasis here is on the necessity that individuals learn to understand the cycles in their lives as well as their place in them. On a practical level, this degree can represent a secret revealed, something hidden coming to light, and the end of a long period of mourning or depression. At its highest, it represents a continual unfolding of the meaning of life and significance of experience through the process of cycle repetition at new and higher levels. Watch for persistent dissatisfaction with any present moment and a firm belief that happiness is something that only others find. The accent is on new beginnings, forgiveness, and second chances bring hope and encouragement. Your greatest advantage lies in being willing to accept change, to close the door to the past. Find the meaning in your experiences and move on. Guard against harboring grudges, bringing the worst of the past into any present situation. Let go of whatever is holding you back or preventing you from getting on with your life. Stepping stones are new beginning, hope, fresh start, commitment, Genesis, inception, appearance, birth, infancy, advent, emergence, initiation, inauguration, debut, resurgence, potential, cycles of change. All right, so, Mercury retrograde, we're already kind of reevaluating. What do I hold on to? What do I let go of? Kind of reorganizing things internally and mentally. I really feel like for a lot of people, Mercury retrograde in Leo is about getting back to the things that make us happy, getting back to the hobbies that we used to partake in, getting back to when things were a little bit more fun and a little bit sweeter. And I definitely feel like for some of us, this Mercury retrograde has been reevaluating our past relationships and people we've been with or people we loved, experiences that we had, and deciding or determining whether or not we're going to continue to hold on to those memories or those ideas, or if we're going to let them go and open our hearts to new potential partners. This is so perfect, especially considering that, the transit of Mercury while this is happening is the dispositor of Venus. And Venus is moving through Virgo, which is about servitude. It's about doing the necessary cleaning and reorganizing in our love life and figuring out what is and is not healthy in relationships or in our habits or in our daily routines. So it's already getting us to kind of rework some of that stuff. And if it's time to shake out bad habits, or if it's time to shake out old relationships or ghosts of the past, we can do so we can kind of create a little bit of space, not only for somebody new potentially, but for getting in better touch with our own self-love and our own needs and kind of feelings as well. Now, Venus will be coming into an opposition with Saturn, which in general terms means that there is a need to clean up our finances, clean up our diet, clean up our relationships. And in order to do that, we need to be aware, because Saturn is retrograde, of where we've had lack of boundaries, or where we have not necessarily said no more, or this is enough, or this no longer works for me, or this doesn't feel good, or I don't like this. So that makes, I think, the Sun Mercury Cazimi all that much more potent, because the heart knows what the heart needs. And it may be difficult to kind of step away from certain people, places, and things. But if we need to create that boundary in order to promote more of our own happiness, then, that's what we kind of need to do. Now, my interpretation of this particular Sabian symbol is like, I think about, the symbol of like daybreak, because it talks about the new beginning, right? Every day the sun's going to rise. It's going to give us an opportunity to start over. So this symbol represents a time of renewal and awakening as the darkness of night gives way to light and a new day. So it signifies a period of growth, transformation, and emergence of new possibilities. Now, this is going to manifest differently depending on where it is in your natal chart, but generally I see this as a sign of opportunities if we can tap into the power of the Cazimi, where we are seeing our own personal strength, our own personal growth. You may be somebody who's experiencing a period of, personal growth and transformation right now. Maybe you feel like you're moving through a period of darkness or stagnation into a new phase of light and progress. I also see this as an opportunity for new opportunities to be coming in if we choose. The symbol of daybreak suggests that new opportunities may be on the horizon, as the light of a new day brings with it the potential for new beginnings and fresh starts. Now, obviously, I think about this and it gives me some kind of renewed hope. I hope it does for you too, because it does represent, after a period of difficulty or struggle, that we may be experiencing a renewed sense of optimism, that we are finally ready to break away from old patterns and step into a new phase of life, one that's more creative, more fulfilling, and also more in alignment with our path and what it is that we need to be doing to generate our own happiness. I do think that this is also kind of a reflection of, obviously a Cazimi is an epiphany, but it can be a spiritual awakening. It can be something we read, something we hear. It could be, having this aha moment where all of a sudden we feel the spirit rise, especially in the sign of Leo, because this is the sign of life. It is about the birth that happens after kind of the gestational period that takes place in Cancer. So it could be through the symbol of daybreak, about a spiritual awakening or a rebirth, and kind of coming into this new state of clarity and enlightenment about what we need on an individual core level. Look for creative inspiration. I love Cazimis for this. These are generally times that I will set aside to, just number one, pay attention. And I'll see, the number sequences. I'll see license plates that are kind of giving messages. Sometimes I'll find books and little quotes, or I feel like I have a download and I'll sit down and I'll make a bunch of notes during these particular aspects that happen throughout the year. But I feel like this is meant to inspire creativity and innovation. And, you may be filled with new ideas and possibilities and, feel inspired to sit down and write something, or to create a list of things that you want to be doing, or make a list of things that you're prioritizing when it comes to being able to achieve your own personal happiness. Now, in the background, there's some other things that are kind of going on here, okay? Mercury is the dispositor of both Jupiter and Mars. And you guys have heard me talk all week long about some of the squares and some of the conjunctions taking place where Mars and Jupiter is inspiring us to take risks, to step into something new, to speak up, write, learn, travel. And some of the squares to Saturn is where we're kind of battling laziness, evasiveness, fatigue, fear, emotional blocks and challenges when it comes to actually stepping outside of the box and kind of forging a new path. But Mars conjunct Jupiter is positive. It's positive words, it's affirmations, it's journaling, writing down to-do lists, getting these things done. So I do feel like you're going to see a lot of people feel inspired to share their stories of where they've been able to overcome something. Talk about the necessary sacrifices that they have needed to make recently in order to make more time to be writing, learning, and inspiring other people with their stories, and encouraging other people to be willing to kind of maybe go against the grain a little bit, maybe challenge the narrative with some things happening. And it's going to be really, really good for people who are wanting to do some type of artistic project, creative writing, website design, anything like that, where you might feel like you're finally hitting a turning point where you're getting your groove and you're like, okay, I'm finally kind of getting the hang of whatever I've been working on creatively. Now, the Sun and Mercury in conjunction in Leo is a very powerful combination, because when we see the Sun in its domicile and Mercury in conjunction, it's going to have a huge influence in how we're communicating during this particular aspect. Now, in astrology, the Sun can represent yourself, your ego, your individuality, and it will have an influence with Mercury that's going to be intensifying that. So essentially what we're going to see is that there's going to be more of a tendency to express our thoughts and ideas in more kind of grandiose, dramatic ways. This can lead to a charismatic and expressive communication style where, we are seeking to be heard by other people and admired for our intellectual accomplishments and our wit. Not necessarily about our performance, but what we think, what we have to say, how we say it, right? So it can be a really powerful communication time as well. If you're wanting to put some kind of information out, if you're wanting to kind of make a statement or get the attention of a group of people, definitely right around the time of this happening, we can see that take place. Collectively, though, when we see this conjunction, it represents a tendency for there to be a lot of loud kind of conversations being had by Leo type of people. So it could be performers, it could be artists, it could be people in Hollywood. But Leo is also about leaders and leadership. So there could be something changing direction and like statements that are being made about changes with leadership and the direction where, certain leaders are going to be going. I do anticipate that this is going to be very confident, very creative, and very dramatic, because this is going to be kind of baked into a full moon in Aquarius. So we may notice that there are some people who are really striving for recognition, and, us who are kind of watching all of this kind of go down, we may be drawn to leaders who are taking on roles where they're showcasing their talent and also their ideas. And remember, Leo is a fire sign, so it's about putting ideas in action. Mercury is the dispositor of Jupiter and Mars coming into conjunction, so it means that we're going to be favoring people who are not just talking about things, they're actually taking action, and they're showing you what they're going to do, and that they are creating new ideas and opportunities, or talking about expansion and strength and, really being in favor of information and allowing people to be able to have access to information and being able to debate things. I think that's really what this is with Mars and Jupiter in conjunction. It is important to recognize, though, that while there's some quality, positive traits that can kind of come up here, there can be some issues that can come up with egotism and people who are striving to get the spotlight any which way they can. Not all, attention is good attention with this particular aspect because of Jupiter and Mars square Saturn. So there is definitely a need to kind of balance our self-expression with empathy in trying to understand other people. Now, that's going to be a huge theme because we see earlier in the day, we have the Cazimi, and then we are going to be coming into what will be the full moon the next day on the 19th, about 24 hours later, where we have this full moon in Aquarius at 27 degrees. So the moon will be in opposition to both Mercury and Uranus. So it means that the public is reacting in a way that can sometimes be very Uranian. It could be chaotic. It could be, rebellion against something. It could be people who are indifferent. They're kind of just trying to, watch the show and not kind of get involved. But we find it difficult to communicate and express ourselves when Mercury is in opposition to the moon. There's how we're feeling and then there's how we're thinking. So we're going to see that there's definitely going to be a little bit of like a divide amongst individuals and, people in the crowd about things that are being said, on stage basically, or, on the world stage. Now, we're going to see also right around the time that this is happening, this is taking place with the return of the Mercury-Uranus square. So if I go back to the Cazimi on the 18th, we see that these two conjunct, okay? And we see then on the 19th, there you go, part of the full moon, the Sun-Mercury conjunction is square Uranus. So you're actually going to see that while the Cazimi comes in and it's like this aha moment, that aha moment is having us revisit what has happened since the full moon in Capricorn around the 21st of July. So that was in the pre-shadow of the Mercury retrograde. So this was while Mercury was entering into the degrees which it would retrograde through. We saw the square to Uranus. We all know how that went down. We saw all kinds of communication breakdown. We saw issues pertaining to people being able to access like servers and computers, and it was like a hot mess. Impacted things like casinos, right? And the stock market. And it also has impacted trading throughout this particular retrograde. Flights went down, all kinds of stuff. So you want to think back to the events that were going on revolving around the 21st, right, of July. That full moon was crazy. Conjunct Pluto, obviously, it was 29 degrees. So it was kind of faint echoes of some of the drama and the issues that are going to be revealed when Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn next month, where we are dealing with all of that like deep state stuff, if you believe in that stuff, where, there's going to be lots of exposure of corruption within top-down structures, government, leaderships, things connecting to big business. And Pluto is trying to purge and bring all of that stuff up, basically. So I think that full moon was kind of showing us some of that. Obviously, taking a step back now that we're about a month out from that particular full moon, it's fair to say there's been a lot of stuff that's been exposed in this last month. A lot of issues revolving around corruption, a lot of issues revolving around questions with three-letter agencies, at least here in the United States. Pluto and Capricorn quite literally directly correlates and connects to the FBI. We saw a assassination attempt against ex-President Trump. And just a lot of crazy stuff has been going on. So I think that this square is not so much just about, what has happened and how that, impacts our ability to create or work when we see technological breakdown. But I think it's also going to be more connected to what happened a month ago. And now we're going to be hearing more information about leadership and how there's more news that's being revealed from the Mercury Cazimi and how that's got everybody a little shaken up. And I think that we're going to see more of that stuff unfold. More turbulence in the stock market. I've been telling you guys this and telling you this and telling you this, but this is the week where I think we're going to see some real hard hits to medical and health stocks, to cryptocurrencies. I think we're going to see some stuff that's going to get really buck wild, and I'm anticipating that we're going to see some stuff that people don't see coming. You have to remember that Uranus is tilted, right? And it's kind of at an angle. And when you think it's going to go left, Uranus goes right. When you think it's going to go down, it goes up. So when we have a Mercury Cazimi square Uranus, it could mean that, some kind of leader comes out and makes some kind of statement about some financial institutions or direction that they're going with. And there's been some back and forth. We've seen this certainly with some of the political candidates that have been making lots of comments and statements about where they stand on fiscal policies, where they stand on cryptocurrencies, where they stand on taxing tips for people who are kind of in the service industry. Very Mercury retrograde in Virgo into Leo. It's like they're now considering these people and making a bunch of promises and, kind of willing to upend certain decisions that have been in place for a long time about finances and the money that we make. So there's no surprise here, but there may be another surprising statement that one of these candidates make about the future of their campaign or what they plan to do or what they're kind of supporting and how that impacts all of us little people, especially when it comes to our food, our resources, our energy, that kind of stuff. It is possible that we see another weird freak out with electronics. That is very likely that we're going to see that. I don't know if it's going to be during the full moon in Aquarius, if we're going to see it on the square in the back end as we get closer to September when it's in the third square. But it's important to take into consideration that this is now going to be the third square to Uranus. And when it squares, it's going to be at 27 degrees. 27 degrees is a Gemini degree. So it does represent maybe some crazy Geminis out there having something to say. It can represent that there is some shocking, surprising news that we are hearing on television, on radio. There is some shock and surprise that somehow connects, trading and electronics and, trading platforms and the ability to kind of get on and off or make trades, and that there could be some technological breakdown, or, somebody says something about the future of, some financial institution or stock, and then it sends something in one direction or the other, right? That's my other interpretation. I will tell you, be careful whose advice you buy, because Mars and Jupiter says, yeah, let's just chug into something, or it's going to be great, it's going to be positive. And like there can be a sense of having overinflated perspective, or people who are trying to, convince you or coax you into something. And we want to be cautious of the squares to Saturn, because it means that there may be something going on behind the scenes and it may not actually be as positive as we think. And I think there's going to be a lot of really big, positive, pretty words. And we're going to see Venus that's going to be in opposition to Saturn. So that means that actually when it comes to money, when it comes to resources, when it comes to jobs and job numbers and things like that, I don't think it's going to be as positive as people think. You're going to hear a lot of spin, but I don't think it's going to be as positive as people think. And it may be trying to backpedal and trying to de-escalate situations so people aren't freaking out and pulling money out of things. That's what I think. Obviously Venus opposed Saturn is, very similar to Venus conjunct Saturn. It's, are we strengthening our bonds, our relationships, our resources, our values, or are we seeing that actually something's not working and we need to kind of pull them apart? And with Mars and Jupiter in conjunction squaring this, it means that people are needing to learn to ask hard questions, practice critical, thinking skills, communicate. And it's about getting to the truth. Jupiter is the truth, even though it's in its fall in Gemini, it can juggle a lot, but people needing to draw their own conclusions rather than what they're just being told on the news or in the newspapers, or what politicians are telling you, or whatever, teachers are telling you, whatever. Needing to ask questions and draw your own conclusions. So there can be some things that are coming up with this retrograde where people are like, it's not that bad, and like it is potentially that bad. And I'm wondering if it's going to be something like, we're starting to see heads of companies and stuff coming out and being like, no, everything's fine. Don't worry. We're good. This isn't the end of the world. And like I said, trying to de-escalate people from kind of freaking out because of the news that comes out. So when we see Mercury square Uranus, you guys have already experienced this in the pre-shadow. Taurus is a sign that wants stability. Throwing Uranus into this sign, it's basically, it's disrupting stability. It's disrupting relationships, because this is a Venus sign. It's disrupting finances and security. And when we see the Sun square Uranus, that's a anything goes day. Something's going to pivot. There's going to be some kind of curveball that's going to come in. And it's going to shock and surprise, I think, everyone because of the full moon and the angle that this is going to create. And Uranus is the ruler of this full moon. So this T-square is very important. I really feel like the square is going to lead to disruptions in communication, sudden change in plans, feelings of unpredictability, not knowing which way something is going to go. And it'll bring about a clash between the desire for personal freedom and expression, right, Leo, and the need for stability and practicality, Taurus. And then when you factor the Cazimi in, I think the positive is that we're going to see unexpected creative ideas. That's the positive of this. The Leo energy combined with Uranus square could lead to sudden bursts of creative inspiration. And these ideas might be unconventional or disruptive to the status quo. It's possible. Communication challenges, even though the Cazimi is considered positive, and it's definitely going to lead to a desire to express oneself in a very bold and confident manner, the square to Uranus could lead to miscommunications, misunderstandings, especially in the ideas, if the ideas that are being shared are considered too radical or too unexpected. it is likely that we'll see unstable plans, right? Especially because Mercury started its retrograde in Virgo. So that retrograding back into Leo kind of represents like, you know, we might have to rework something or change our schedule suddenly. And definitely the Uranus square can disrupt plans or schedules, leading to a need to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. Watch for conflict between tradition and innovation, as we always see that whenever there is some oppositions to Saturn or squares to Uranus, which we have with Venus opposed Saturn. And, you know, we also have the Sun Mercury square Uranus. So this is going to be bringing up the themes of traditional values and structure, and whether or not we need to upend some of these things, while the Mercury Cazimi in Leo is pushing for more bold, innovative, creative solutions. This could lead to conflicts or debates, especially in areas related to finance, resources, or personal values. Now, I do think this is going to promote personal growth, in my opinion. I think this alignment can be a time of significant personal growth and transformation. Yes, the Uranus square pushes for change, but I think that the Mercury Cazimi is encouraging self-expression and confidence. It's, yes, okay, you know, we have to pivot. Plans have changed. Let's get creative in how we can kind of come up with a solution. How can we make lemonade in this scenario? Is it the worst situation, or do we need to let something break down so that we can kind of put our heads together and creatively create a new path forward? Oof, it's just, there's so much stuff going on. It's like so crazy. And I know I talked about this, you know, definitely during the full moon in Aquarius video. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. But I think that my takeaways from this and my recommendations for you guys and how to kind of navigate this is, number one, with the Cazimi, have a notepad, have a recording device, take notes on your phone, you know, jot something down in your laptop if something comes to mind. Like, have the opportunity and the ability to have an outlet for this. Speak up, right? Be creative. You never know, you know, you might have something that's on your mind or something that, you know, you created that you're doubting whether or not you share with people. Like, you never know. Like a single tweet, a post, some creative project you put out there may end up being bigger than you imagine, and it could majorly change your financial situation in a good way. It could also majorly change something about your self-esteem and your security, and make you feel more confident in what you're creating and kind of putting out there. So express yourself. That's number one. That's what you want to be doing with this. Use this transit as an opportunity to express your thoughts, ideas, and feelings in a confident and creative way. Connect with other people, okay? Because this is happening in a sign, obviously, that is, you know, an air sign, a fire sign. So it's about action, but it is also directly connected to Mars and Jupiter, which is in an air sign and is very social, and it is still slightly sextiling this. So I feel like this is about, like, you know, enhancing your communication skills and, you know, using it to connect with others and share your ideas. Especially if you're somebody who's a creative, a performer, an artist, anything like that, because the full moon is really showing everybody what you've got. Explore new ideas. The Mercury retrograde is about that in general, but I think that, you know, with this transit, if you can, if you can be open, inspiration may hit, and you may have new creative thinking, you know, things that come up. You can use it to explore new concepts and ways of thinking. And I also feel like this is really wonderful for getting to the heart of the matter, whether it's in romantic relationships or maybe you're just wanting to embrace your inner child. This playful and creative energy is so helpful in helping you connect to your inner child and using it as an opportunity to have fun and be playful, be, you know, romantic, to feel inspired, to be able to kind of tap into that energy where the focus is more on what you're creating, what you're doing. And the hard squares to, you know, Taurus or the second house is creating for the sake of creating, not because you're looking to get it monetized, not because you want to be, you know, a rock star or because you want to make $1 million. Like, you're doing it because you're creating for the sake of creating. And at least in my interpretation, when I've had squares between my second and my fifth house, I have found that the things that I did that were the most successful were not projects that I set out with the intention of making it be this big, you know, operation or this big money-making thing. It's just something I started doing because I love it. And those ended up being rather successful, and I stayed with them, and I'm continuing to do them. Being on YouTube is one of those things. Okay, I've had this square. And I think that I would just say, set aside a little time for creativity, for playtime, for playing dress up with your kids, for, going out on a date with somebody, for being able to participate in a hobby, maybe going back to something that you used to love to do, and really reevaluate and reassess where you stand in your heart space with relationships, both to other people as well as yourself. Now, what's important about this is that throughout the retrograde phase, we've got the pre-shadow, the retrograde, the post-shadow. We're going to see this square actually happen again. So we will see this take place again, and that's going to be in September, around September the 6th. So that tells me that this process isn't done yet. We're still going to be kind of working through it, because the pre-shadow is so active. I kind of wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a kick on the back end, honestly. So on the 6th is when we see Uranus and Mercury square again. Okay, it looks like it's going to be kind of the overnight hours. So you might feel it the 6th, you might feel it the 7th. But this is when we see the last square. So you guys are going to have this. You had it first on the 21st of July. The second one is going to be the one that I'm talking about, which will be the 18th of August. And the third one is going to be taking place on September 6th. Now, this one's interesting because when this happens, we're in Virgo season. So we're really looking at what's going on with Mercury transits. Obviously, once it gets out of the square with Uranus, it's going to head back into Virgo, and it's still going to be covering some territory until the better part of the first half of September. Then we're out of the shadow period. But guys, mid-September, we have eclipses. And you're going to see planets opposing Saturn and Neptune during eclipse season, where we're going to be kind of ushered into what will be this new cycle of eclipses in Pisces, and then eventually next spring in Virgo. So when we think about the axis of Virgo and Pisces, I think all signs are one and the same. They're just kind of different shades of one another, right? They're kind of reflecting similar qualities and traits. Virgo, which is about health, organization, service, hard work, bravery, determination, and the willingness to kind of get our hands dirty and to sort and sift and perfect things. Pisces is about being able to focus more on the spirit, where Virgo is going to be more about the mind-body connection. Pisces is going to be about the emotional, spiritual connection. It is about rest and recuperation and healing. It's about self-undoing and releasing things and letting things go as well. So yeah, we're going to see some interesting stuff be shaking out. That's definitely going to be highlighting, Virgo type of jobs and occupations, like the service industry, like people who provide, medical support, veterinary support. We're going to hear a lot more about changes in job numbers. And then we're going to see this activation in the Pisces area of our charts with this mid-September eclipse in Pisces. Everything's going to square Jupiter. So that basically tells me that, essentially the Jupiter-Saturn square that's taking place in the month of August is trying to taper Jupiter from going too far. We may see increased numbers of unemployment. We might see increased layoffs. And I think Saturn is basically going to represent those in charge who are doing everything possible to limit that from continuing. So we might see, they are going to probably lower interest rates, to try to kind of work with inflation to see if they can bring it down, but they can't do that without continuing to print money. So it's almost kind of like putting a bandage on a broken arm. So they may be able to delay, but not necessarily completely stop some of the things that inevitably we will see happen during the next Jupiter-Saturn square around the end of December, and then again in the spring of 2025. So right now, I want everybody to be thinking about the area of your chart where Leo is. And this is like, how can I get creative? How can I create a side hustle? Excuse me. How can I create more time to do the things that I love? Is it possible for me to launch an Etsy store? Is it possible for me to be self-employed? Leo is about taking risks, okay? And obviously this isn't for everybody, but I think a lot of people, especially when we start getting into the eclipses in Virgo next year, are going to start looking around and being like, do I want to be an employee or do I want to try to do my own thing? And it's a risk, but, is it going to pay off to, be more independent rather than feeling like you're kind of stuck in your grind and your, day-to-day 9 to 5? And there's nothing wrong with that, but people are going to start shifting their perspective on these things next year. They're also going to possibly be thinking about, making changes when it comes to their love life, with children, with their investment strategy. So this is some stuff that you guys want to think about. We will have yet another retrograde in this part of the chart. This is actually going to happen later this year when Mars goes retrograde through there as well. So yeah, that's the long and short of it, just so you guys kind of know what the Cazimi is about. I'm hoping that you can kind of keep your eyes and ears peeled because Mercury likes to play tricks, especially during the Cazimi. There can be some, email or conversation that comes in, or you might meet somebody or something happens that makes you kind of realize like, wow, this was meant to be. This conversation I'm having, this book that I found in the bookshelf, this connection that I made with somebody, and reconnection also. Leo is about romance. So I could definitely see, especially like with, the South Node being in Libra, and when we see the third square kind of come through and the South Node is conjunct Venus, I think a lot of people are being asked to release old love affairs and people that they're hung up on, or release issues from their childhood that's impacted their self-esteem. Or maybe they are realizing and recognizing that they have the talents and the capability of being able to be creative and expressive and do it on their own. And they're breaking away from relationships where they feel dependent on other people. All right, so with that being said, I hope that was helpful. I would like to take you guys through the 12 rising signs before we kind of wrap up and give you a little bit of insight maybe for how to kind of work with this transit and what to expect in your own chart. I also talk about this in the August horoscope, so you guys can take a look at that as well. So let's take this back to the Cazimi point. All right. And I would like to show you each and every one of the 12 rising signs. Just as a reminder, I am a Western astrologer. That is what I practice. I will be using the whole sign method for everybody today. So you can see the Cazimi with your whole rising sign. That is where you're going to make the most of my predictions. It's going to be taking place on the 18th. So that's what you want to be watching for. Maybe some stuff comes up on the 18th, which impacts the full moon on the 19th. Now, once again, this is going to be impacting my Leo, sun, moon, and rising placements. And if you happen to have any placements around, let's say, 25, to 28 degrees of Leo, personal planets, maybe an angle, this will be impacting you. Now, if you happen to be a Mercury-ruled rising sign, so if you are a Gemini rising or a Virgo rising, this is important for you because Mercury is your chart ruler. So whenever he makes aspects, you got to know what's kind of going on. So pay attention to that. And my fixed signs, okay? So my Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius sun, moon risings, if you guys have any planets within those kind of, 26 to 28 degrees, you will be feeling this as well, especially because this is happening on an angle. All right. So let's start first with my Aries and Aries risings. You guys are going to be experiencing the Sun Mercury Cazimi in your 5th house. Now, for you, this is happening in a fellow fire sign. So it's very friendly. It does kind of pour positive energy into your 1st house where you're feeling active and daring and willing to kind of get something done, making some moves. Now, your 5th house for you, Leo, this is all going to be about creativity and pleasure. So having the Cazimi there is a transit that's bringing a surge of creative energy and a desire to express yourself in new ways. You may feel more confident in your creative abilities and have a stronger desire to pursue your passion. Now, the sun's at home here, but Mercury represents your 3rd house and your 6th house. So it could be making the time to learn a new hobby, right? It could be about going back to, considering trying to launch a project. It could be a website, writing, podcasting, being on stage, or being seen in some capacity. This can also be about changes that are going on with your love life, with a romantic partner. It could also be about changes that are going on with your schedule, and maybe a chance opportunity to meet somebody who you can kind of create and collaborate with, or somebody who can kind of help you with your personal projects. It's the other interpretation that I have of this. Obviously, there's a square to Uranus, so what you're being mindful of is that you're having to prioritize creativity, happiness, and joy, and find new innovative ways to make that possible financially. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Aries. Let me know what happens. All right, we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You guys are going to experience the Sun Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Leo in your natal 4th house. All right, so Tauruses, this Cazimi is taking place in the part of your chart that is going to deal with your home and your family. So this transit can inspire new ideas for home improvement or family projects. You may feel more confident in your role as a parent or a caregiver and have a stronger desire to create a nurturing home environment. This could also be like a turning point when you are in the midst of a renovation or looking for a home or trying to sell a home or trying to figure out how to design a home. All of these things are possible. Mercury rules your 5th house of creativity and self-expression, as well as children or romantic partners. It's also connected to your 2nd house of money and resources. So it's possible that you're trying to find creative ways to rearrange your home so that way you have a hobby space, or maybe you can make more space for your kids. Maybe you are trying to find new innovative solutions, especially financially, to kind of manage your home base. And obviously, this is coming into a square with Uranus in your sign. So you can be feeling like, I want freedom. Maybe that freedom is, hey, I want to move. I don't want to stay here. Or I want to paint the walls. I don't want them to be this color any longer. There can be some tension in terms of who's in charge. You could have some friction with family members or roommates. That can kind of come up revolving around the changes that are happening in your home. And, I think that it could be a battle of the egos, right? That can be kind of going on here. Especially when that full moon comes in, it's going to be making Uranus the focal point in your 1st house. So it means that you may be the person who feels like you're fit to be tied, that there's like too much going on that's pulling you between your work and also your home, and you just feel like you need free of it. So for many of you guys, it's just needing a little bit of space out of the house, or you need a little bit more kind of one-on-one time with your relatives and your kids, and you're kind of needing to regroup a little bit and like learning how to relax and have some playtime. Right? Anyway, I hope that's helpful for you guys, especially if you're a later degree Taurus. Hang in there. I promise you this will pass. All right, so we have Gemini and Gemini rising. What's going on, Gemini? You've had a busy week. So you're going to be experiencing the Sun Mercury Cazimi in Leo in your natal 3rd house. For you, this is all going to be about communication, transportation, learning, neighbors, siblings. This is the 3rd house, junk drawer. So this transit can bring a burst of creative energy to your communication style, and you may feel more expressive and have a stronger desire to connect with some of these people that I've mentioned. Obviously, you're ruled by Mercury, so Mercury transits impact you more. And what's interesting is that as Mercury conjuncts the Sun, it is directly correlated to Jupiter and Mars in your 1st house. So it can be inspiring you to connect with your local community. It can be inspiring you to sit down and write something, to plan a trip, to share something with your siblings, to go back and tweak or rework a website or a social media platform of some kind. Now you're going to see Mercury in hard angle to Uranus, which means that there is something that's brewing for you subconsciously. It could be your intuition's trying to tell you something, you're having, weird or wacky dreams, or maybe you have some kind of like gut feeling or intuition, or maybe just because of what's going on in the world, you feel inspired to sit down and write something or make a statement that you want to share with other people. So know that while the Cazimi is positive, there is something that's making you feel like a little unsure maybe, or a little unsettled about speaking your mind. But what I would advise you to do is lean into that Jupiter and Mars in your 1st house. Be brave. Watch for maybe like documents, emails, messages, phone calls that are very serendipitous that happen during this time that can help you redirect your thoughts, maybe rework something about a contract, think about moving or planning a trip. Hopefully that's helpful for you, my Gemini. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. you'll be experiencing a Sun, Mercury, Cazimi, and Leo in your natal second house. All right, Cancer. So having this happen in your second house of possession, money, personal style, this is also your spending habits and anything connected to your self-esteem. Now, I think this transit's going to help inspire new ideas for generating income or managing your finances. You may feel more confident in your financial decisions and have a stronger sense of your personal values and how to navigate your current financial circumstances. So obviously, you don't need me to tell you, a Mercury retrograde in the second house, there could have recently been some mishaps with money. Something went missing, maybe you find it, could be money or a personal possession. It could be about changes that are going on in the way that you think about money or kind of dealing with stress that can be relating to your budget. But when the Cazimi comes in, it's linking in your 12th house lord as well as your 3rd house lord. So it can manifest as, finally starting to come up with a plan and like being able to talk through financial situations, referencing a document. There can be stuff that comes up at work where you're having to talk to coworkers or people that you're working for about a financial situation. It could be time cards, it could be your pay stub, it could be something like that you're trying to get clarity on. You may feel like you've been afraid of having a conversation about something, but you're going to be like, no, I know that this is what needs to be handled. This is what's owed to me, or this is my worth, or this is what I want to get paid. This goes hand in hand with a full moon, and the moon rules your chart in your 8th house. So this is your money and this reworking and rethinking of what you need and what you're worth. And then a full moon in the 8th house, which could represent a bill being due, somebody paying you back, something involving your partner's money or a friend's money, and it squares Uranus. So friends and money, friends and working together, your money versus your partner's money. There can be some things that are coming up, and you're going to have to probably have to reference a document or a conversation to ensure that you're getting what you need. But I think you're going to be very confident about this. Sometimes new money opportunities kind of pop up out of nowhere that you don't see coming, or maybe you find something that's valuable. Maybe something that was missing suddenly kind of appears, and then you're like, oh, okay, I found it. I feel solid again. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You'll be experiencing the Sun, Mercury, Cazimi in your natal 1st house. So obviously the 1st house is quite personal. You've been going through a Mercury retrograde here. So you've been kind of reworking something about yourself, your appearance, your personality, maybe even your health. Now this transit is meant to bring a boost to your confidence and self-expression. You may feel more charismatic and have a stronger desire to share your thoughts and ideas with other people. Mercury rules your 2nd house, which is about resources. It's also about your values. It can also be about your resources. It could be about your personal style. And Mercury obviously is going to come into a square with Uranus. So something about there being some kind of friction between your thoughts, your ideas, your needs, maybe where your head's at, what you're thinking about, in friction to what direction or what changes are happening when it comes to your status. Okay, so it could be how you want to dress versus what your boss wants you to be wearing. It could be, do I really want to be working for myself and doing my own thing, or do I want to be kind of clocking into something? 10th house doesn't have to be your career. It could be your responsibility for other people out in the world, your public image, your reputation. It could also be your status, especially when it comes to relationships. I think it's going to be very relationship oriented for a lot of Leo risings. Now, this is going to be a full moon in your 7th house. So your marketplace, your clients, your spouse, your partners, your friends, there is some big kind of conclusion that's coming up, and it's going to oppose Sun and Mercury in your sign. So it's going to deal with you needing to kind of talk about your needs, and it's going to square Uranus. So likely any kind of relationship is going to be bringing, some kind of action in, and you're going to have to find a way to better express what you need from other people. And it is going to have some big impacts on what's going on with your future status, your career, or your reputation. Be a little bit more challenging for the later degree Leos. It does look like there is going to be some fireworks when it comes to your reputation. So be mindful of how you're communicating and working and talking with other people. Obviously, in the first house, you're more consumed with what do I think, what's going to be best for me. Making those changes sometimes means that it does impact your clients, your relationships, or your partnerships with other people. And this can become something that is aired out in a very big public way. All right, so let me know what happens for you guys. I'd love to hear. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You will be experiencing a Sun Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Leo, and it'll be taking place in your natal 12th house. Now for you, Virgo, this is important because Mercury rules your chart. It rules yourself, your body, your appearance, and the way that you kind of interact and communicate with people. It's also connected to your 10th house of career. So for you, Virgo, Mercury retrograde from your first house to your 12th, it kind of feels like you're going into your cave, you're reevaluating something in some capacity, you're taking time to work on your spirituality, to heal, and maybe becoming more aware of some of your self-undoing patterns or tendencies. This transit can inspire new ideas for your spiritual or personal growth, and you may feel more introspective and have a stronger desire to explore your inner world. So dreams, meditation, retreats, healing, your own creative kind of studios and spaces, like that's where you want to be. The challenge is that Mercury is going to square Uranus. So it means that there's something that's coming into friction about you and your future and what actions you are or are not taking when it comes to changing the direction of your life and your status quo. Uranus in the 9th. Now, Uranus rules your 6th house, which is your office space, your health, habits, and routine. When I look at the full moon in your 6th house, it does represent possibly some big changes that are going on at work or with your health or potentially even with your routines. So, it's not unusual for Virgo risings to be like, man, I'm feeling under the weather with this full moon and I'm needing to kind of rest or I'm needing to heal. And that can impact sleep schedules, work schedules, travel schedules, like all kinds of things with some of the squares to Uranus. This could also represent that maybe you're going back and visiting a place or you're considering going back to school or making some changes in your education plans and the impact that it has on existing kind of work. And if you're not having to do that, if you're changing careers altogether or you're taking a step back from work, it could represent, well, what do I do with my time? Am I traveling? Am I continuing, my education? Am I just going to enjoy retiring? So you might be processing a lot of these things. Obviously, at the time of this particular retrograde, it's really directly tied to your Mars Jupiter in the 10th, where some of you guys are taking a new status in life, you're getting married, you're separating, you're launching your own business, and that's also directly impacting your relationships as well. So you guys, man, you have a lot going on, Virgo. You'll have to let me know what's kind of happening. Just take time to really process this right now. You don't have to have the answers. It looks like with a retrograde in the 12th house, the answers are within you, or maybe you're gaining some kind of insight or clarity from, a teacher, a mentor, a reader, somebody who can be helping you kind of uncover like what direction you need to be taking. Hopefully that's helpful for you, my Virgos. We've got Libra and Libra rising. You guys will be experiencing the Sun Mercury Cazimi in your natal 11th house. This is the house that deals with friendships, social groups, networking, as well as communities and your wishes for the future. Now, having the Sun Mercury Cazimi in this house is likely going to bring a boost of communication with friends and social groups, especially if you're somebody who's active online or in local communities with groups of people where you kind of gather. You may feel more charismatic and have a stronger desire to connect with like-minded individuals. Now, Mercury in your chart is connected to your 12th house of what's hidden and subconscious and your 9th house of teaching, traveling, educating. It can also be about foreign travel. So there can be a sense of you being like, okay, I'm traveling to meet with friends. Maybe you're coming out of your shell after having Mercury come out of your 12th house into the 11th where you're feeling a little bit more social again. It can mean that you meet the right person to help you kind of get into a network or a community or a club. It can also mean that there is some changing in direction that's going on with like a friendship or making a new friend that gives you some kind of like insight into a situation. Now, obviously, this is going to square Uranus. So, you've got the full moon in your 5th house of creative projects and love affairs and romance and party time. So this wants to, show the world what you've got, and you want to kind of take some of this and you want to share this good news with friends. However, the square to Uranus tells me that it could be shocking and surprising things in a good way. It could be that there is, through the full moon in your 5th house, sharing with your friends, I'm in this new relationship and I never thought I would, really be crazy about this person, but I am. There could be some shocking and surprising news in regards to your children if you have children and you're sharing that with other people, These are also financial houses. So the 5th house is risks, the 7th house can be gains, and the 11th house is about your goals. So something is shifting about the way that you look at taking risks and goals and chances, and there's something worth celebrating. In the back of my mind, I really feel like, when I look at Mercury connected to Mars and Jupiter, it's wanting you to connect with people to learn about health and healing, or it's wanting you to teach people about that, or to take a workshop or a class, maybe breath work, meditation, whatever. Venus, after all, is in your 12th house, and that's your chart ruler. It's in opposition to Saturn, so it's trying to get you to kind of silence the mind, find a way to be able to get cool, calm, and collected, maybe do something like a retreat or whatever, and you might meet a really great friend in the process of doing that, okay? So good luck, Libra. All right, we have Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You will be experiencing a Sun Mercury Cazimi in your natal 10th house. Obviously, this can be a little challenging for you, Scorpio, if you have that 25, 26, 27 degrees Scorpio Sun, Moon, or Rising, because it will square. But the 10th house is super visible. This is about your career and your public image. So having the Sun Mercury Cazimi and Leo in your 10th house are like all eyes are on you right now. This is like your moment in the spotlight. This transit can inspire new ideas and also really help improve your career or your public image. You may feel more confident in your professional abilities and have a stronger desire to achieve your goals. If you've been waiting to get a call back on a job, if you've been waiting for your dream job to be posted, if you've been waiting to have some kind of epiphany or kind of message from the universe about what direction you're going in with your career, likely this can happen during this transit. Now, Mercury rules your 8th house of other people's resources, change and transformation. And it also has connections to your 11th house of friends, groups, goals, and other people. Some of you guys may be asked to reconnect with friends and work with them on a project. Some of you guys may be asked to go back to an old job and you're negotiating the pay if you were to take the job and go back. And that's part of what this Cazimi is about. For others, I think it's just maybe about getting back into the swing of prioritizing your career or focusing on kind of reworking something about yourself. You might be rebranding. You might be getting ready to give a big presentation or make a big statement. After all, Mercury is connected to Mars, and Mars is your chart ruler, and it's been conjunct Jupiter. So it does look like there's been some creative things brewing that you've been thinking about, and you're getting ready to make this big kind of announcement. However, at the time of the full moon, which will be in your 4th house, Sun and Mercury will oppose the full moon and square Uranus. So you're getting pulled in the direction of go out, be out there, be seen, work. And then you have a full moon in your 10th house where it's like, wait, you also have to pay attention to your emotions and your home and your family. And then the square to Uranus is going to be a bit of a curveball. For some Scorpios, this is going to manifest as a grand fixed cross. So hold on to your shorts. Know that you're getting it from all angles right now. I think the square to Uranus is saying where some of this reworking of your career, your status, your goals can have a direct impact on your relationships, with money, with your spouse or your romantic partner, with your clients. And maybe you're getting ready to make a big announcement that's going to shock and surprise everybody in some capacity. And this could be a good thing. It could make, people go, oh, I want to be a part of that, or I want what you have, or I can't believe what you told me. Very much in the spotlight, though, having your 10th and your 7th house kind of highlighted. So be mindful of some of the comments and the statements and the things that you make. You might make a connection with somebody that could be a big breakthrough for your career. I'm hoping that that's the case for you. But I definitely feel like a lot of this is navigating some of the changes in relationships to be able to facilitate this change. Good luck. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Sun Mercury Cazimi in Leo in your natal 9th house. So this is going to be obviously a house that you're very fond and familiar of because it's a Saggy vibe. And thankfully, this is in a fellow fire sign. So especially if you're 25, 26, 27 degrees of Sag, you'll be experiencing fire trines, which is going to liven things up a little bit for you, and that's great. So having the Sun Cazimi with Mercury in the 9th, this is about philosophy, travel, your belief, education, anything revolving around teaching. Maybe it could be about, like publishing something, sharing something with a teacher, higher education, like college can kind of come up here. And really this is a transit that's bringing you a burst of creative energy when it comes to your travels or teaching or, your creative pursuits. You may feel more confident in your beliefs and have a stronger desire to explore new ideas or to travel to new places. What's interesting is that, the conjunction between the Sun and Mercury is really highlighting your 7th house Lord of relationships. And it's also connecting to your 10th house Lord of creativity and also, your career, right? So it's going to be about, Mercury ruling this, and it's in Leo. Maybe coming up with creative marketing campaigns. It could be about, well, am I changing directions with my career? Am I wanting to learn something new? Am I going back to school? Am I getting a certification? Do I need to meet with like a counselor, or do I need to be getting some support from a partner? That kind of stuff. I think about how Mercury is the dispositor of Jupiter, which is your ruling planet, and Mars in the 7th. So you don't see it, but there's a lot of support from other people right now. Romantic partners, siblings, neighbors, counselors, therapists. You've got somebody or several people who are kind of on your side, kind of encouraging you. Yes, write the book. Yes, go on the trip, or let's go and check it out. And I feel like it's a nice energy for you. It works very well with your 7th house, and it also works very well with your sign. Sure, some of you guys are having some challenges scheduling something, or you're rescheduling school or classes, or you're going back to school and trying to figure out how to get into that. Maybe you're changing your travel. But that full moon that we're going to have in your 3rd house of siblings and communication and vehicles will oppose this. It will also slightly trine that. So the key is communication, and you can navigate any change that happens with a flight, any change that happens even with, education or learning. You just need help from other people. So you got to speak up. That's the lesson. I also know that the square to Uranus in your 6th house is saying, yeah, your schedule is going to change in some capacity anyway, whether this is your day-to-day at work, your habits, something with your health, and this is really pushing you to find a mentor, find a teacher, find somebody who can kind of guide you, who you can work with, so that way you can make the necessary kind of lifestyle changes you're hoping to make. Good luck. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You're going to experience a Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Leo. And this is going to be an interesting one for you because this is in a sign that kind of in conjuncts or quincunxes you. And it is in the 8th house. All right. So this is the house of transformation, shared resources, taxes, intimacy, psychological stuff, spiritual healing, things that have to do with like taboo stuff or metaphysical things, psychology even. So we've got this conjunction in the 8th house, and this is really trying to get you to transform your mind, okay? When planets go through the 8th house, they go through a transformation. So you're transforming your mind about something. And this is trying to inspire new ideas for transforming your life and managing your shared resources. You may feel more confident in your ability to handle life's challenges and have a strong desire for deep transformative experiences. Obviously, Mercury rules your 6th house of health, habits, and patterns and routines. And it also has connections to your 9th house, which deals with learning, your belief system, kind of personal philosophies, travel. So the Cazimi in the 8th house can bring like this awareness that's like, oh, I should have gotten a refund for this, like I need to make sure that I reach out to somebody. Or maybe you catch something on your bank statement that was double charged or, should have been charged back to you. Conversations with other people about their money or resources, insurance documents, investments, inheritances, settlements, things like that can kind of get handled here. And I think about how Mercury is connected to health and what you're learning. So you could be learning about new connections with your physical health and your mental health. Obviously, that's a huge theme, having Jupiter and Mars in your 6th house right now. So you might be really recognizing and realizing like, wow, like through having a routine or being organized or working out or eating healthy, like it has a positive effect on me. I feel like I have more energy, I'm more confident, or maybe you got clarity about some health related matters. And through getting clarity, you're able to kind of rework something about your health and like detox something out of your system, right? Shocks and surprises happen here. I have to be really honest with you. And it can be announcements of some kind of significant change with work or with pets. Now you're going to have a full moon that's going to be in your 2nd house about your personal money and possessions in opposition to that. So I'm kind of thinking like you may be working with like a accountant or a tax specialist or something, and they catch something and they're like, okay, we worked it out and here's what you owe, you know? It could be that you're negotiating, taking a new job and trying to figure out, you know, like, should you take it, or are you, you know, negotiating the terms for the salary, and then you get your answer right around the time of the full moon. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I can just tell you that the more that you have a structured routine, you're focusing on health and productivity, and you're showing up and doing the work, you'll be able to kind of work out the financial situation. But there's a lot of back and forth between themes about your resources and other people's as well. Okay? So keep an open mind, be open to change. That's the best advice I can give you. Good luck. We have got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing the Sun Mercury Cazimi taking place in the sign of Leo in your opposite sign in the 7th house of relationships. Okay, so this is one-on-one relationships, partnerships, marriage. Can be about a fateful meeting. It can be about the relationship with a creative collaborator, a client, even your children, because Leo can be kids. So Mercury rules your 5th house, okay, of creativity, self-expression, playmates, playtime, and it's also connected to the 8th house of hidden stuff, secrets, intimacy, vulnerability. And some of you Aquarius and Aquarius risings have been kind of doing a bit of a do-si-do and a back and forth with relationships, and you're trying to figure out what the heck you're doing. So my interpretation is of the Cazimi in the 7th house that this is a transit that's boosting communication with your partner, romantic partners or business partners or clients. Okay, that's what's coming up. And you may feel more confident in your ability to express your needs and have a stronger desire for a harmonious relationship. However, you're going to see that this is in opposition to the full moon in your house, in your sign, your 1st house. So when the moon goes through there and Pluto's there, you know, there's gonna be some emotions that are coming up from you, and it's gonna get triggered in opposition to Sun and Mercury, which means you're gonna be thinking and feeling one way, a partner or somebody else is gonna be feeling another way, because oppositions are relational, so it's outside of you, and then it's gonna square Uranus. So you guys really, because Uranus is one of your chart rulers, you want to think back to what's been happening since July. Where has there been maybe a little bit of chaos going on at home? There has been some changes of schedule or some disturbances, or maybe you have felt like you're in one place, you're out of another place, or there's something that feels like there's some tension. And that tension comes to a kind of a boiling point again in September, but especially this week as Mercury squares Uranus. So it can be that, you know, you have a partner that is like, hey, what's going on? Or maybe somebody comes back from the past and they're kind of yanking your chain a little bit. And boy, that full moon is going to be something else because it's going to square. Realize that other people aren't communicating very well with the retrograde in your 7th. You know, that this could be a moment where there's like a lot of communication or a blast of confidence or them being really independent, and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, you know. If you're single, it can be a fateful encounter and connection. Just a retrograde in your 7th house alone could be enough to bring in, you know, a karmic relationship, especially with Mercury ruling your 5th house. And if you're kind of going back and forth between the past and the present, or the past and the future, and opening up to somebody new, this could be where you kind of get your answer as to whether or not you break with the past and you decide to move forward and kind of accept what's in the future, or if you're going to continue with the same patterns. But something about this Cazimi in the full moon tells me that it is going to be a breaking point where emotionally you're going to be like, if it's not the right connection, then I have to kind of let it go. And it can be family relationships, roommates, romantic relationships, clients. It could be also a little bit of a tiff that maybe you're having with a younger person or a kid, because Mercury is directly connected to your 5th house. So there may be some tension with a partner because of something going on with a child. You know, that's even possible here as well. So take note of what's going on. Know that there's going to be a little bit of tension in the skies for you, especially 25, 26, 27 degrees of Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising. Okay? Try to be patient with other people. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Sun-Mercury conjunction and the Cazimi happening in Leo in your natal 6th house. All right, so first things first, Mercury likes being in the 6th house. It does well here. It wants to, have a goal, organize, assess things, work on something, take things apart. Like it does well here. So the Mercury retrograde started in your 7th of relationships, and now it's in the 6th. That can be about getting back on track with your health, your patterns, your habits. So the conjunction taking place here, because it is your 4th house lord of home and family and your 7th house lord of relationships, it's saying, now that I'm stepping away from relationships, or now that I'm kind of focusing more on my health and my habits, this could be this moment of, epiphany where you're more aware of the need to make some changes in some of your health habits or routines, okay? Especially because it's all kind of squaring. It's been kind of squaring Neptune, so it might be some things that you weren't aware of when it comes to your habits or when it comes to your health, right? Things you're eating, things you're doing. But the 6th house is health and service. So I think this transit can inspire, new ideas for improving your health or serving other people. I think you might feel more confident in your ability to take care of yourself and have a stronger desire to help those in need, especially because Mercury rules relationships. So you might be trying to find ways to donate your time or to be better kind of reorganizing your workspace in a creative fashion. So you feel like, it's more inviting for kind of working with clients or with other people. This can also be about reorganizing your home because Mercury is connected to your home, and it's also connected to Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter is your sign. To me, it looks like there's just a lot potentially changing when it comes to your home base and your relationships. And you're kind of taking a step back and you're like, to make all these things possible, like I need to have an all hands on deck moment, and I need to be more organized and more on top of my schedule and making sure I have work and my health squared away. Everything else needs to wait, and I can't get those things done until I do this. So sometimes people get health results with this particular conjunction. Sometimes this is when, they start a new habit, or they kind of intuitively know what they need to start doing. And this can be about making time for fun, creativity, also for dating, because Leo can be about love and romance. And this is going to square Uranus in your 3rd. So it does seem like it's a little stressful mentally, trying to make all of these necessary changes, right? With work or with your routine. And this is saying you need to use new and innovative ways of being able to manage this stuff. So communicating in different ways, maybe using apps and technology to be better organized, maybe implement a new schedule or something that's going to make things flow a little bit better for you. This could also mean that you're recognizing where, there has been some kind of destabilizing things going on, either, with vehicles or with siblings or with just your kind of your headspace, that you have maybe found yourself a little disorganized. And now you're like, okay, I need to, I'm going to get creative and find a way to kind of get into better kind of harmony so I can do the things that I need to do. Mercury is directly connected to Venus in your 7th. And Venus is in opposition to Saturn. So there is a lot of Pisces risings out there right now that are looking at things going like, when I need help, somebody that I'm there for hasn't been there for me, and reassessing relationships and kind of being like, do I need to take space from someone or something and focus more on kind of, getting my ducks in a row rather than overextending myself and overworking and putting myself out because I'm tending to other people first. And that's a part of a bigger storyline with, the Jupiter-Mars square, where you're really ready to kind of break out of old patterns and maybe make some changes at home or with your living situation. So you got to get organized to be able to do that. look for those messages and insights for your health and your organization. I hope that's helpful for you, Pisces. All right, guys. Well, I hope that you're able to kind of catch the sprinkles of Mercury this week. I'm sure you will see them. He will definitely make himself, I think, known in a very big way. I'm so curious. I can't even tell you guys how curious I am about this full moon. I'm like, what is going to happen? So let me know. What do you guys think? What are you feeling? Are you already starting to see these things? You should be, because, well, Mercury has been retrograde for a little bit. It was in pre-shadow too. And we just got to lean into some of those sextiles with Jupiter and Mars. It's about being like, you know what, if I'm passionate about something, I'm going to get it done, or I'm going to make sure that that's a priority. So good for graphic design, creativity, writing, you know, all performance stuff. So if you're somebody who's in those fields, take a little bit of extra time for feeling that inspiration come through during this transit that you'll be having on the 18th. Thank you guys so much for watching my channel, for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. If you want to see more about me and my work, check out my website below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. You can see my one-on-one sessions. I am booking now in the months of October and November. I'm a busy lady. But I take reports. I do all different types of like solar return birthday readings, synastry readings, elections for special dates, natal chart readings. And I offer gift cards for those of you guys who want to give the gift of a reading. And I also teach astrology. So if you want to learn with me, check out my Beginners Astro 101 and 201 courses. I would love to teach you how to read your own chart and interpret what's going on in the stars. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to be doing live readings for this amazing new full moon in Aquarius. Check the community tab. You can find the link if you want to sign up for a reading. And I will catch you guys all back here on Friday. Enjoy this time. I know it is active, but it is not without some kind of purpose in the midst of all of this. And I will see you all very soon. Take care.